If you've been working in sales for any period of time, you'll know by now that most personas are built pretty much for pitch decks, not actually for you as a rep. They're vague, they're full of buzzwords, and they offer nothing useful when it comes to actually thinking about what to write or what to say with your outbound campaigns. In this video, I'll show you how to build a practical and usable persona using a worksheet that I developed alongside my clients, and I work through this with each of my consulting clients. So, most personas are useless. I'm sorry, marketing. I used to be a marketer. I used to build these, made them look really nice and pretty, but really they were a checklist item. They weren't used by the rest of the team. They don't really include the real pain points, the buying triggers, or where to actually find the prospects. They're rarely updated, again, guilty of that, and they don't help with personalization beyond just first name and company name and job title, those classic merge tags. And reps end up guessing, and that's where most messaging breaks down. So I've put together this worksheet. This is the ICP and the Persona Matrix. We're now talking about the Persona tab, where it's designed to help you build personas that can be used directly in list building, message writing, call preparation, so that you're not writing fictional bios or making these grand assumptions. You're actually using data and the information from your personas to make your message more relevant in real world context, which is, of course, one of the hardest things to do when you're a rep. Most of the times you've not worked in this role before, and you're expected to speak to finance leaders, the head of people, to cybersecurity experts, and you've never held that position before as well. And you can become a lot more confident when you have the right messaging and the right understanding of who your personas are. The first thing to note before we get into this, though, is there's multiple personas here for each of your ICP. I spoke in a previous video about how you need to have different segments and different ICPs, and within each of the segments of your ICP, you'll have different personas. So rather than focusing on B2B finance companies or fintech companies with 100 to 10,000 employees, you will have different segments based on the employee size, for example. That's quite a sensible and rational thing to have different segments around. I want to walk through each of these sections on the left-hand side. So the first thing to do is put the main title, the core title of the persona you're reaching out to, but then also include other titles. So let's say you're reaching out to head of HR, then another title would be head of people or head of people ops. List the common titles that might show up on LinkedIn. And sometimes the best thing to do is go to LinkedIn, search for an existing client or look for somebody who fits the criteria of this persona. And then on the right-hand side, see what the other recommended profiles are. And that will give you an idea of some of those different titles. Then you want to put a bit of information about their background. What are they responsible for? Where have they likely come from? What's their work experience been? How familiar are they with buying solutions like yours, or maybe not? Then you want to think about the activities. Outline what they're doing on a daily or weekly basis. And then you can use this for message openers and call relevance, especially when people give you situational objections as well on cold calls. Then you want to also include the challenges. So what's frustrating them? What's blocking their performance? What's stopping them from being able to do their best work? This is really core for your message content. And also I like to talk about this is think about what they'd be complaining in the pub with a friend or their spouse. How are they describing the problems? How are they describing their frustrations? Because ultimately, if you use the same message that they're using to describe their issues, it's going to make your message more relevant and increase the likelihood that you'll get replies. Also, concerns. What risks or doubts do they have when considering a new product or process? This helps you with preempting some of the objections that you may get, especially on cold calls and also in emails too. Then I like to go through needs. What are they looking for? What do they actually need? Is it visibility? Is it control? Is it speed? Ease of use? It could be a combination of all of these things. These are great for value propositions and also tying your message to these needs. Finally, I like to think about goals. What are they actually measured against? What does success look like in their role? This helps tailor that outreach and call to action framing in your cold emails, but also in your conversations that you're having with prospects too. So the last couple of boxes here are where can you find them? So think about what communities, podcasts, or influencers that they follow. This is useful for potentially looking at signals and triggers to leverage, and also for paid targeting for your marketing team to work through. And then LinkedIn profiles again. Go and put in the LinkedIn profiles of at least 5 of these people that match this persona. It's really important that these people exist and that you look at their profile and take a look to see what their experience is like, what their background is like. When it comes to writing any sort of messaging, I like to have a look at a few LinkedIn profiles first, just to help me get in the flow of writing a message directly to John Smith or to Sarah. I find that a really helpful exercise. So as a rep, this will help you become more effective with your outbound from cold calling and emailing, because you don't need slide decks. You need answers to what does this person actually care about and how do I help them? How do I demonstrate that our product and platform can help them? And where do I find them? So the persona builder gives them all of that, gives you all of this information. It saves you time. It also sharpens your personalization so that you're not using kind of this fake, inauthentic personalization saying like, I saw that you went to university in Nottingham, or I see that you're based in Boston. People don't care about that. They want to receive information and messages and calls from people who understand their problem and help solve the problem for other people like them. If you would like to access this worksheet, you can. You can use it to build your own ICP and personas. I'll drop the link in the comments, but you just simply have to fill out a very short form and you'll get full access to your version of the ICP and Persona Matrix. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me at mark@yellowo.co.uk. Cheers.